right, looks like we're good to go.
There he is.
Oh, there's Chris. Yeah,
There's
Chris
Chris.
is in. Okay. You're on mute, Chris, but that's okay. This is a special meeting of council Friday, March 26th at 4:03. On roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Here.
Mrs. Graves not here. Dr. Lewis.
Here.
Maggie's not here. Maggie Palazzolo not here. Mrs. Rankin.
Here.
Mr. Stelzer.
Here.
All right, we have two items that we're going to be discussing at this special meeting.
Do we need to ask for Maggie and Avi to be excused?
Apparently we do, so I need a motion.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, they'll be excused. All right, as I started to say, we have two items that we're here to discuss today. It's the Murray Pathway construction bids and the review for pool fencing options. And I think we're going to start with the construction bids. And do we want to let Chris go ahead and give us a quick review of the bids?
Why?
Yeah, let's do that first, and then I'll go through the summary that I shared with everybody, just so
Okay.
everyone knows where we're at right now.
Okay, Chris.
Okay, bids were received on the Mariemont multi-use path on Murray Avenue, March 17th. We had a total of 6 bidders, ranging from $236 up to $348,000. The low bidder was Pinnacle Paving and Sealing. I get the number here for you at $236,433.49. They have not worked with the village at least in the past 10 to 15 years that I've been here. So they did submit a statement of qualifications, kind of an AIA form about references and things like that. So I called 2 references and got positive reviews from them and went over the project with them. They seem to be capable of doing the work and familiar with industry standards. So I have no problem. I've recommended the award to Pinnacle Paving for the project.
Okay, so let's just do a quick synopsis of where we are on the Murray Path, because it's obviously been a long time journey. I'll share a screen that I shared with most of the council, all the council members. Well, host is disabled. Adam, can you allow me to share?
You should be able to share. I don't know why it's not letting you do that this time around.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
I have no idea why it's not letting you do that. I'll make a call real quick. I'm sorry, Joe.
Joe, I don't know why, but I'm logged in under your name and it looks like I can share my screen.
All right, do me a favor, Lauren, log off, and then, well, Adam, see if you enabled the wrong Joe Stelzer.
We want the other Joe Stelzer.
I've made you both co-hosts. See if that works.
All right, I'm there. Thank you.
Uh-oh.
Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yep.
Yeah, we got it.
All right, so again, so basically, I'll just go through this fairly quickly. It's a lot of slides people have seen in the past. All right, so this is kind of the before and after that we envision here. Things we're dealing with at this point. And then, is that going on full screen for you guys, or are you still seeing the whole PowerPoint screen?
Whole PowerPoint screen.
Yeah, you're not in presentation mode. Go down the bottom right-hand corner if you do that one. Nope. Now we're seeing your file system.
All right, I wouldn't go back any further if I were you, Joe.
Joe, if you're in the bottom, you go down to the bottom right where that little drop-down screen thing is. Go left a little bit. Like the one that looks like it's something sitting on a stand.
No.
Got it.
And that's presentation mode.
All right, does that work?
Oh,
Sorta.
It's better.
All right, can you see it now?
Yeah, close that subtitles window or subtitles window. Yeah. Right, there you go.
All right, so, okay, so now you can see it. All right, so there's the before and after pictures that we're dealing with. And then the actual,
hey, Joe, you got that thing blocking the whole screen.
You got one more screen to close, Joe.
There you go.
all right, so that's the before and after picture. The current alignment, the only document we have is a PDF, and it makes it really small, and it's hard to actually copy it over. Hopefully within the next week or so, we'll have a better document from the engineering firm to clearly be able to share what the current alignment is. It's very similar to the alignment that we have put out on the website in the past. It hasn't changed that much, but it did change a little bit in the last month or two. So we will share that as we go forward. The next item is the plan that basically is the overall plan to try to reconnect or to connect all these different path projects. Wasson Way will be now connecting with the existing Murray path into our new Murray path probably within the next year is what the plan looks like. And then, that will take it all the way to UC and Xavier in the very near future. So again, this is a map that Tri-State Trails and the Crown puts out that kind of walks through what the future looks like on this plan. To take Chris's numbers and kind of explode them a little bit. So Pinnacle is part of the total cost of this construction project. Their part is $236,000. The village is responsible for 25% of that, and I'll go through in a second where that money's coming from. And ODNR will pay for 75% of that $236,000 cost. There are other path construction costs that are not covered by the Pinnacle contract, about $52,000 worth of construction costs. Again, the village's share of that is $13,000, and ODNR's share will be $39,000. So in total, the village's responsibility for putting the paving in, just the paving part of this process, is about $85,648. Okay, where's that money going to come from? Is we already have $75,000 from Columbia Township in the bank. We also have raised slightly above $100,000 in fundraising. Private fundraising. So if you deduct the cost of the path, only the path construction, that's the responsibility of the village, the $85,000 amount, that means we have almost $90,000 available for the landscaping plan. Now, just a little bit of word of warning is that the construction costs could fluctuate during the construction process. As Chris says, our unit costs are set, but the units may change as we get into it. So if they got to put a little bit more blacktop down, some of these numbers will change a little bit. But this is the current estimated cost and where the money is going to come from and how it's all paid for. We still continue to get private contributions to this day. So hopefully that continues in the next month or so as we start showing progress on actually building the path. And then we'll know what our final number is for the landscaping. To move forward.
Hey, Joe, could I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
If I take that 236,433
Mm-hmm.
and I take 25% of that, I get 59,000.
Of the 236,
Mm-hmm. If I take, if I multiply that by 0.25, which is a quarter, 25%, I get 59,000.
I think I'm taking those off of Chris's spreadsheet. I'll go back and check to make sure that number is okay.
I mean, I'm just trying to follow, along. I'm not trying to, make it more difficult.
Yeah, I don't have Chris's spreadsheet up in front of me, but that's where I pulled those from. We'll go back and make sure that those numbers are all good. But in essence,
I can offer a little bit to that. There are some items in that construction total that are 100% village costs.
Oh,
Water
yeah,
service.
that's right.
So that does change things a little bit. So it's not truly 75% of the 237 or 25. So I've got more information on that we can discuss later if need be.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, so in the Pinnacle number, some of those non-covered or non-eligible costs for ODNR are in that number.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. Okay.
Yeah.
The current project timeline is in March to we hopefully get council approval to move forward. We are trying to get the landscape plan updated. There was a preliminary plan. Hopefully we'll have that updated, hopefully by the end of this week. Then in April, there's a utility pole that needs to be moved, which is actually included in those numbers that we just talked about before. Hopefully we can get the path construction underway based upon Chris's conversations with Pinnacle. That's a very likely scenario. And we're going to take the month of April to get that landscaping plan out for public input and try to get that process completed by the end of April. Hopefully in May, we're looking at two events, that the path construction itself is actually completed and that the landscaping plan is finalized. Because we're not going to probably finalize that landscaping plan until in May, highly unlikely we're going to start throwing landscaping materials in the ground, especially the live plants in the month of May. It's probably not a good time to be planting things. So that process will probably occur between May and October. Some of the landscaping materials, like some of the boulders that are being thought about to plant in the area, we'll probably be able to put down, but I think it may not be wise, and I got to defer to the experts on this to come up with exactly what's the optimum time to put new trees and plants and all the rest of the stuff in the ground. But I would imagine it's probably not May, June.
Hey, Joe, another question. When we talked about this, I mean, this was way back in January of 2020, I think. We had talked about, we had anticipated not maybe having money for landscaping. And we had talked about something about the soil needing to settle for a year.
Right.
Is that changed or?
There's some talk about the soil may need to be remediated, meaning that it's been beat to death by all the construction work that's in there. So there may be the possibility of adding some nutrients and some other items to try to remediate the ground to make it better to take on the plants. But again, this is all part of trying to figure out what the landscaping plan is. You know, we think we know how much money we have. Now it's just to figure out what can we do with that money and come up with a plan that, again, this is not something we want to rush. So if it takes time to fix the soil, then we'll fix the soil and wait to put the plants in.
One other question is, I think I alluded to this in my email back to you, but do you have any problem with Wendy Van Buren, who's our DNR urban forester, taking a look at this to make sure that we are choosing the proper trees? Yeah,
I have no problem input from anybody. So, I mean, that's why we're doing the public input process. I think it's going to be interesting because I think we're going to get more comments on the landscaping than we did on the actual path.
Probably so.
But that's why we're going to take the month of April to try to figure this out. And we haven't really designed exactly how we're going to do that public input process, but we figure we'll do some of it through sharing the information electronically and possibly Zoom meetings, because I don't think we can, probably have a public meeting where people attend in person. Maybe that changes in the next 30 days, but we'll try to figure out a way to give everybody a chance to provide input.
Hey, Joe, quick question. In the other construction cost, that's kind of a big number. I mean, do you know what's in that? The 52,000?
Some of it is design engineering costs, which I think is, Chris, help me, I think it's 36,000 or something like that.
Bill, it's at the bottom of that spreadsheet, the other spreadsheet that they sent.
I can't pull that up, Rob, so.
Yeah, no, I'm just telling Bill, if he has it, if he printed it off, at the bottom of that spreadsheet, there's the other costs. It's like,
oh yeah, I see it, Rob, I see it, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what all that stuff is.
Some of it's at about $3,500 for the telephone pole move. And what is the design and engineering number? Is it like 36 or something like that? 36,000?
Yeah.
38.
So it's, it's just, the costs of, again, it's just a mixed bag of things that are in there.
Is the village going to get back some of that design money?
Yeah, we can basically, it's eligible for reimbursement. So, so stuff we've already spent, we can file for reimbursement and potentially pick up 75% of it right now. to pick up the prior costs.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
And Chris and I talked about that, about submitting a reimbursement right away. Now that we have actually signed the contract with ODNR, we should be able to put the first reimbursements in.
How's that going to work? Is it going to be like we sort of did the addition back here? I mean, it's sort of a piecemeal thing. I mean, as we begin to, as the contractor invoices us, I guess, as the work progresses, although it sounds to me like he's going to have, this is what, 6 weeks to do or something?
Well,
Hopefully.
hopefully. It does depend, Bill. You're right. It's a reimbursement process, how we'll get the money back. So we will, like we did with choice one, we pay money for the design. Then after we pay that invoice, I can send that invoice over to ODNR and they can reimburse us 75%. And same with construction. So the contractor is allowed to have 4 months to build the path. I don't think he's going to need that long, but that's what I put in the contract. So yeah, we think he can do it in 2 months.
Yeah.
But we'll see what goes.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, quick question. Is there any thoughts about putting like some benches spread out amongst the thing, or is that, I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
that would be part of the landscaping plan.
Yeah.
And actually it might be an opportunity to raise some more funds. People want to, pay for a bench. So,
Buy a bench.
but at the end of the day, we will, all that stuff, that's part of the landscaping process. That's not part of the, path construction process. Okay, any other questions on the cost estimates and the timeline?
No, not
All
here.
right, so I was doing some thinking about what's the legacy of this project. I think it shows a couple things. Number one, that neighboring governments, businesses, residents partnering together can come together to improve a community. Also, leveraging the use of available state grants and private contributions instead of just raising local taxes to fund a project. I mean, it's something that we need to think about in the future as we look at other items. We're going to have a very cost-efficient path. I mean, if we do the calculation about what this is costing us per lineal foot, it's much lower than numbers I've seen from other paths in the region. So, I mean, I think hats off to Chris for, basically going through this process, finding the right contractor and getting a very efficient path in place. This is going to provide a safe pathway in that area where there's inadequate sidewalks. This is going to resolve some surface drainage issues in the area. It transforms pretty much an ignored area into a beautiful gateway, not only for Mariemont, but for Columbia Township too. That's why they were all in on this project. They thought it was a great project. And we're in the process of creating an alternative transportation corridor. And what that means is, this concept of being able to go from Mariemont to Xavier to UC to the hospitals on bike is a pretty large deal. And as Chris can probably tell you that, these alternative transportation corridors are, something that is very valuable to the area. People are trying to put these things in numerous locations around the country. I believe that when we get this done, it's going to be one of the best landscape paths in the region. I mean, you can look at what people have done with other ones and they don't, they first start just trying to put trees in. We're putting a total landscape solution in, and we think we got enough money to do it. So finally, I just want to kind of go through some big thank yous in this process. This has been a long time coming. And, first we have to thank the Department of Natural Resources for, providing this Clean Ohio Project grant money. I want to acknowledge the contributions from Rick Rowie and Don Mills. They basically were instrumental in helping us, find foundation money, figure out how, the Clean Ohio process worked. I also want to hats off to Martin Kepke, who's done a lot of volunteer work in putting landscape plans together numerous times over the last 3 or 4 years. And he continues to do it today. And, that has saved us a lot of money on this process with him volunteering his professional services. Thank everybody in the Village of Mariemont, Mayor Brown, council members, village engineer Chris Ertl, also former council member Troy Hawkins, who was instrumental in, basically, forcing the process to get the grant filed, even though it wasn't, really well supported by some of the former administration members. But he, basically, stepped up and got us cooking. But unfortunately, he moved to Chicago, and so, but really appreciate what he did to get this whole thing started. Columbia Township, thank them, their trustees, the former and current administrators, and the residents over there. They've been helpful during this whole process to, help build support for the process. They've been financial contributors. And again, this is getting both communities to work together. I'm not going to try to list all the financial contributors to this project, but we're probably up to 250 contributors to the project. And many are pioneer contributors that have contributed at least $1,000 each to the project. So, this is something that there was a lot of people who threw money in. Acknowledge the Tri-State Trails and Green Umbrella people. They are the regional trail people that were helpful and a lot of different things where we had questions and trying to figure stuff out. The Crown Network, which I alluded to earlier, which is basically trying to interconnect all these different trails. They've been very helpful along the way in building, exposure and support for the project. The next two are the 50 West Brewery and the Madison Place. Both of those businesses hosted events for us in the last year, which fundraising events, which was appreciated. And in the case of 50 West Brewery, we partnered with their 501c3 that was instrumental in getting financial contributors. The next list is kind of a catch-all. And again, these people were very, very helpful. And I probably forgot a couple people along the way. If I did, I apologize. But these people either donated their time or were out there recruiting pioneer contributors, using their connections to convince people to write some fairly hefty checks. Matt Ayer has been instrumental on a lot of stuff in the last 12 to 15 months about moving this process forward. Lisa Wharton was very helpful in her legal knowledge. Tony Schmidt with some of the things he did regarding the graphics, like that graphics I showed earlier. It was instrumental in trying to paint the idea of what we're trying to accomplish here for contributors. Gordon Rankin helped with building the website to help drive this information out. The rest of the individuals on the list helped in different ways, either recruiting contributors to the project and or helping out at the various times to make this thing happen. So again, a big thank you for everybody on the list. So any questions?
Sounds like a winner.
So we're going to formally vote then on this?
So am I going to make a motion?
So yeah, I move that we go ahead and accept the bid that as Chris has recommended for Pinnacle.
Second.
All right, having heard a second, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right, so we will be accepting Pinnacle's bid.
Excellent. Oh, yay.
Well, it's been a long time coming, huh?
Oh, I'd
Yeah.
say this is awesome.
All right. All right, well, is that all we're going to say about it? We're going to move on to the fencing? Yes?
Yeah.
Joe,
Good.
Joe, you ready?
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
Okay, well, then you want to go ahead and, or Lauren, do we want to, Lauren, who's going to do the fencing?
I've got a PowerPoint on that too that I shared today, so let me load this up.
Okay,
And I think it's going to be Lauren and I together on this one as we kind of
Okay.
go through the slides. I think that's probably the best way to do it.
all right.
And let me get it set up here again. All right, can everybody see it?
Mhm.
All right,
Yep.
so the first item is, I think the question on everybody's mind is why do we need a fence, especially when we talk about how much we may be talking about for this fence. So I just kind of jotted down a couple ideas and, again, why is the pool commission making this recommendation at this point? And has everybody had a chance to look at this already? I know I sent it late today, but we've been working on getting the exhibits together. I don't want to have to repeat something that's everybody's looked at, but basically I think that one of the real reasons why the pool commission is looking at this is that they're trying to present the image that there's positive change coming to the pool. the capital improvements at the pool were, have been ignored for far too long in the past. We just, did not put the amount of money into the pool to keep it at a level that it should be to attract our residents. And again, we're facing competition at the pool, from other pools in the area that are trying to poach our residents to not use our pool anymore. So the existing fence, the best we can tell, is about 60 plus years old. It's broken in many places. It's in bad shape and probably beyond repair. I think that we tried to repair it in the past, and I'm not sure that, at the least we probably would have to replace all the chain link, but the poles and the rails are in pretty bad shape throughout the property, and the gates are in pretty bad shape. So, there is an aspect that maybe we've got the lifespan out of the existing fence that we can get. As far as aesthetics, I think there's a general feeling that the barbed wired fence is not a good look for the property. It looks more of a prison facility than a pool. And again, the barbed wire was something that they did 60 years ago. But the current style and aesthetics is you don't typically put barbed wire fences up around facilities like that. And it probably creates a bad first impression when you walk up to the facility. The current configuration is probably dangerous, both from the barbed wire on top and also on the open chain link on the bottom. Somebody can slide under and get their legs caught and cut and all the rest. So, Lauren, do you have anything else to add on that about why the pool commission believes this is needed?
No, I think you hit on the main points there. You mentioned it, but the structural integrity of the fence, there are many spots around the edge of the fence that are, you could walk right through, where the fencing has been pieced together over the years as it's had damage. And so, the fence either needs a major repair all the way around it or a replacement. And so part of the reason we went down the route as a pool commission for a fence replacement, when we met with some of the initial contractors to get bids, they said, given how old the fittings are and the parts, some of them being 60 plus years old, that they didn't recommend trying to repair it, that it really wouldn't be much of a cost savings to try to repair the existing fence. But you hit on all the main points there. It's one of those capital improvements that, like it or not, fences have a shelf life. And so, we've gotten a lot of life out of that fence over many decades. But we're trying to position the pool, as Joe said, for the next 50 years, for the next 60 years. And how do we continue to enhance this great amenity that's in our village?
All right, so we'll go on to the next slide. I just want to give everybody, I put this together as an indication to get everybody on the same page about what we're talking about, because I think some of the documents that we shared in the past just didn't do a good job graphically of explaining what we're talking about. So the red fence areas are the ones that we're going to replace, the red lines on this exhibit. The blue lines are the gate areas that would be replaced in the process. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 gates, including the one on the backside that we've been told is kind of critical for accessing that area outside the fence to work on the trees and things like that that are outside the fence line. There are 2 fences interior where the yellow lines are. Those are just going to be removed at this point. They're not needed anymore and may actually help us do a couple things in the future there to improve the use of the concession stand. Again, those gates, it's like this fence here has a gate that's never closed, and people are walking in and out of that all the time. So those will just be removed and not replaced. This is the stairwell leading down to the pump room that would be replaced with a new fence on 4 sides. With a little bit, it has an opening to the first step, but again, we need a fence there to protect people from falling into the stairwell. So again, this is the scope of the project that we're talking about at this point. Is there any questions about where we're at so far before I move forward?
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, we had a committee meeting on this and we kind of didn't draw a conclusion. So we're just bypassing that.
Yeah, because of the timing involved. I mean, we've got to make a call on this one way or the other, because if we're going to move forward on this, we've got to get the, depending upon what material we believe is the right one, is that, we're trying to cut the line there, or cut the timeline there. And again, by going to full council, yeah, we're kind of, moving it up, but we have to do it in this case because of lack of time. If we had more time, I wouldn't mind having another Health and Rec Committee meeting. But at this point, we're trying to get it to full council to get a decision one way or the other, so we can hopefully get this in before the pool opens.
Okay,
So to be clear here, Joe, then what we're doing here at this moment is just basically reviewing options. Are we going to make a call on this today?
If we can get there, yeah, because we're running out of time. And that was a reason for our council the whole meeting.
Yeah, if I could, sorry, I've got kids in the background. I'm home alone. But Noah wants to say hi. Say hi, Noah.
I know.
I know.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that, guys. One of the things there, the pool commission has been studying the fencing now for many months, and we've looked at lots of different options. And very grateful for the process along the way of it going into Park and Rec or Health and Rec Committee as well, which has actually had 2 meetings in the Health and Rec about the fencing. And so we're at the point where at the last Health and Rec meeting, it was one of the options was sort of taken off the table as a recommendation to the full council. That was the galvanized steel. So from my vantage point as chair of the pool commission, what I'm bringing forward are just some simple things. One, we believe that the fencing needs replaced. Council can either, agree to do that or not. And the second thing is a recommendation between 2 products, which Joe will go into, which we talked about at the last Health and Rec Committee, which is an ultra aluminum fence or a chain link fence. I can share with you later what the pool commission recommends as a product. But we're at that point as a commission where we would really like to see the fencing replaced. And we defer to your leadership as a village council to decide which product to go forward with. And today, if you felt that you had a consensus or you wanted to make a motion to approve a dollar amount by which then would allocate funding to replace the fencing. And so any more deliberations or dialogue about, the fencing from our vantage point as a pool commission would really just be if the council felt like they needed to. We as a commission feel like we've done our work and we're presenting it before you now for you to make a decision as village leaders.
All right, let's move forward. We can debate what do we do at this meeting today. So, but I think, again, let's get the council members up to speed about where the issues lie on this at this point, and then we can try to figure out where do we go from here. So again, this is the scope of the work that's being proposed. Was the lines that were on this page. Okay, there's 2 products that are kind of coming to the front as far as the fence material options. One is the ultra aluminum fence. And this picture that's on the screen is the style that is recommended, and it's recommended for a couple different reasons. Is some fences on the bottom of this ultra aluminum have the pickets that actually extend below, and we've been told that is a safety issue. It's better to have a solid bar on the bottom of the ultra aluminum fence. The other thing is they actually put these, if you want, lack of a better term, spikes. I think they got a more fancy term for it, but on the top of the fence, this would be a 6-foot fence either way. But that's a deterrent from somebody trying to climb over by putting those, you can call them decorations, but I call them spikes at the top of the ultra aluminum fence. Right. The other option is it's called a color-coded black vinyl chain link. So it's actually galvanized chain link, but it's coated with black vinyl. And this doesn't do an excellent job of describing what we're talking about, because our system would be 2 rails. one across the bottom and one across the top. That's what's in the pricing that we had obtained. But you can kind of see the difference between the two types of materials that is being talked about here. This straight galvanized chain link is cheaper, but nobody thought that was the right look for the pool so far. So we kind of have eliminated that for further conversation. If council wants to go back and look at it, I've got some numbers here that we can kind of walk through on it, but it was felt like it wasn't the right option for the pool down there. Some cost considerations. What does ultra aluminum cost to fence that entire area that we talked about before? Not only fencing, but the gates and all the rest of the stuff. The numbers are right around $46,000 for the ultra aluminum fence.
For all of it, for including the gates.
That gates, all the areas that were marked on the previous map to do that entire area in ultra aluminum is $46,000. Okay. There is a concept of just doing the ultra aluminum in the front area, the area facing the road, and then doing the coated chain link along the sides and the back. Okay. That number, we've got actually two different numbers from the two different contractors that we've talked to, and the differences are it's either it's between 37,000 and 43,000 for that. The ultra aluminum number is actually like $1,000 apart. So there's not much big variation there. There is variation on when you bring the chain link into it. And what I've been told is that variation could be caused by fluctuations in material costs. Apparently materials are jumping daily as we speak. So one contractor may have a supply of the chain link left that they can use that they bought at a lower price and give us a better number. The other contractor has to go into the market. But you know, I've seen the same type of concept on lumber in the last 6 months and other building materials. So it all depends upon whether those manufacturers were open during the COVID crisis, how much supply they had, you know, and how much demand there's been. But there's some variation on this second concept of just putting the ultra aluminum in the front and the color coated chain link in the back. Also, if we did black vinyl coated chain link around the entire area, the number is between $34,000 and $40,000. So again, I know it's a little confusing to say there's a range, but that's what we've seen with the contractors. So, you know, if we went to the high end of those numbers, you're talking about $3,000 difference between option 1 to option 2, and another $3,000 to option 3. If you take the low end of the numbers, it's $9,000 difference, and then another $3,000 to go to, you know, the entire area. So again, I just wanted to kind of give everybody an idea of what we're talking about here, is what we've developed as far as prices.
So in this meeting, are we deciding whether to or to not go ahead with the fencing and pick the type of fencing, or?
Let's get through the presentation and then let's just talk about what we, you know, feel comfortable doing now or not doing now.
Okay.
And again, I think if we try to do it too soon, you won't have all of the facts and knowledge to be able to decide where we go from here. All right, as far as that ultra aluminum material for the entire pool versus only the front of the pool, cost is a consideration. Aesthetics is another one, because we have to figure out where do we start the ultra aluminum and where do we end the ultra aluminum, and how does that look? Because it's not like if you look at the original picture, we don't have a nice boxy area here. Like when we get down in this corner, you know, where do you start it and where do you stop? Do you use that corner point to make the transition? There's real questions about how's that's going to look from an aesthetic standpoint. You know, other places that I've looked at where they've used this hybrid approach, there's usually a distance between one fence and the other, but these would be, you know, right up against each other. All right, the second thing is, or the next thing is, and we'll hold off on that pool advisory board recommendation for 1 second here, but at the current time, Mariemont in general discourages the use of chain link fences. You know, we actually have, you know, items in our code that residential is not allowed to put chain link fences up. And as we discussed at the last Health and Rec Committee meeting, it looks a little hypocritical of the village to say, no, you can't put a chain link fence in your residential yard, but we're going to go ahead and do it at the pool. Now, we're going to look hypocritical at some point anyway if we ever have to replace the tennis fence, because you're not going to do a ultra aluminum fence at the height of the fences needed for the tennis facility.
No.
But it is a viable option for the pool, because it's only going to be a 6-foot fence.
Right.
All right, so Lauren, you want to talk a little bit about what the pool advisory board's recommendation is at this point? You went back and repolled all the pool advisory board over the past weekend. If you can share that with
Yeah,
council.
I put these options, our initial recommendation, when we first presented this, offered this up, was for the 6-foot ultra aluminum with the spear top. I repolled the pool commission to put these 3 options in front of them. There were 6 votes for the ultra aluminum, our original recommendation. There were 2 votes for the combination, and there were 2 votes for the all chain link. So one of those votes, somebody voted for both the ultra aluminum and another option. I didn't know they had the option to do 2 votes for things, but they did. So the vast majority of folks are recommending that we do the ultra aluminum. It's a few $1,000s difference. One of the reasons that we've talked as a commission that we're recommending that product are for the following reasons. It is generally believed among the contractors that it has a longer durability and shelf life than the chain link. The second consideration is that the spear top on the 6-foot fence could present as a better safety measure from people hopping a fence, if that's ever an issue or consideration, that we're removing the barbed wire. There was some concern about safety, keeping people out of the pool. It's easier to hop a chain link fence than it is those spear topped fences, because you don't really have anything to grab a hold of with your hand on top of the spear top. I can say this, I've talked with a lot of the pool commission members offline, and a lot of them agree with me that we're just ready for the council to make a decision. We'll be supportive and grateful for whatever the council decides. If you decide to go ahead with this project. My other 2 cents, what Joe lifted up earlier with where does one begin and the other end, if you were to go with a combination, I'm leery of a combination of the 2 materials. I think aesthetically, either choosing the chain link all the way around or the ultra aluminum all the way around is probably the way to go, considering that it's not a giant cost difference. The combination route really would be just an aesthetical choice at this point. So as the chair of the pool commission, I would recommend either the ultra aluminum or the chain link, with the priority being the ultra aluminum. But I defer to you guys. The way I see it, the black chain link, the advantage is that it's a little bit of a cost savings. Still a great product, still a great aesthetic improvement. The advantage of the ultra aluminum, longer shelf life, harder to hop over a fence like that. And it is the product that most people in the village are putting into their yards. It is the product that the commission recommends.
All right, let me go on to the last slide here. Lauren alluded to some of this, the durability and maintenance question, because this has been floating around for a little bit. In talking with both contractors, they believe the ultra aluminum is the most durable and require minimal maintenance. There was one issue they said that every now and then there is a frost heave issue, that the poles will actually sink or rise every 10 years or so as the ground moves. And so sometimes you have to go back and reset those poles. That's something that actually happens, and they see it, probably on a 10-year cycle. The ultra aluminum doesn't require paint. It's gonna, it's pretty durable and doesn't require a whole lot of maintenance. The other question that's popped up is the availability of replacement parts in the future. So, you can probably find replacement parts for the chain link anywhere, But the reality is this ultra aluminum is probably currently the most popular fence material that is out there. There's probably 2 to 3, if not more, manufacturers of this in the United States right now, of this ultra aluminum fence. And the theory is that because it is very popular, there will be plenty of replacement parts in the future. So if any of these current manufacturers do go out of business, there's enough demand out there that somebody else is going to step in and be able to provide it. So it's not like we're buying a very unique product here that the concept of support in the future will not be there. So I'm comfortable that we should be able to find replacement parts in the future for the ultra aluminum fence. A key component of this whole process is to make sure that the materials are American made, because if we go out and get quotes and we get materials that were made in another country, we got to be really careful about what is actually in that product. There's been a lot of bad stories in the last 20 years about materials coming in this country that are advertised as one way and not the case. The American made materials is probably an important part of this decision process. The other one is just is the availability of these products. There's a lot of demand on them right now, and we just have to try to figure out if we can actually get it and get it in and get it installed before the pool opens. And the last one, we alluded to this on the previous slide, which is that there is material price fluctuations right now, especially on the chain link, that could drive the number in different directions as we move forward. All right, with that, I'll open it up for questions, and then maybe after we get through the questions, we can try to figure out where do we want to go from here.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
In our health and rec, I recall that the hybrid estimate at that time was $30,900.
Yep.
Why did it jump $7,000?
A couple different things is that, remember the concept of the pole versus 2 poles? And so the low bid before was only on a single pole basis, and to add 2 poles to the black vinyl increased it by $4,500. But we also, made sure that both contractors were quoting the same area, and so there's been some change in the numbers because of that. We wanted to make sure they were both being consistent, and that's why we did that map that you saw in the first slide.
I don't remember the pole, 1 pole versus 2 pole. Can you get?
So the chain link has.
I did miss one of those meetings, so that you might have discussed that at the first one.
Now, if you looked at the original bids like I gave you, the bid from Mills clearly articulated 2 poles. And when I went back and asked Eads about it, they said, oh, we only quoted 1 pole. And they had that additional, the poles are the one, not the poles, but the rails that go in between the 2 poles that holds the fence in place. So Eads originally quoted 1 pole, but you want to do 2 poles to basically give stability to that fence. Because if you think about it, if you got a rail on top and no rail at the bottom, that bottom can flop all over the.
So you're talking about the horizontal rails.
Exactly.
Like the framing.
Okay,
Right.
and then the other question is, in that same meeting, or the second meeting, the black chain link was even lower than that, $30,900. Because the way I recall,
the galvanized was lower than that without coating.
So the hybrid version is less expensive than all black chain link?
Now, I think before the number that was in the 20s was galvanized.
But I still think the black vinyl coated was less than the hybrid. And I mean, and here we're talking, it's about the same range, your numbers here. And I'm sorry, I can't pull it up right. I don't know how to do it to look at what I had before.
I think the galvanized chain link 2 rail was 29,137.
And that's the Mills quote.
That's a Mills quote. Yeah, dated 1/26.
126, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the last Park and Rec committee, it was kind of decided to remove the galvanized chain link as a recommended option to council. So kind of putting these, and I believe on Eads and Mills, slightly different numbers, fluctuates a little bit, But, Marcy, you're correct. As a rule of thumb, the black vinyl chain link all the way around would be the most cost-effective option. A little bit more for the combination and then a little bit more for the ultra aluminum. But there's a little bit of difference between the two, how the two companies price it out and bid it out.
Hey, Joe, I had two quick questions. One is, did you guys get a chance to talk to our liability insurance Ohio plan to find out, like having those spike things, does that help, or, from, reducing our liability exposure to the point about, versus chain link being easier to climb over? Did anybody talk to Ohio plan?
Not yet.
Okay.
I figure at this point, if we can set a not to exceed number, we can run down the rest of that stuff next week about making sure that the 3-inch gap between the picket fences is reasonable. But again, at this point, I think what I want to try to do is get some consensus, about what does the council believe is reasonable in this circumstance. If you're not willing to sign off on a $46,000 ultra aluminum fence, let's just make it clear at this point, and then, let's quit, wasting time on that option.
Well, and related to that, second question then is, did anyone, as you guys talked to the high school, because I know the high school has this also, this ultra aluminum fencing around the football field or soccer field or whatever you want to call it, and how that's worked for them in terms of, the durability and all those other kind of things, just from somebody who's in the neighborhood who has experience with that.
They only put it at the front of the Kuzel Stadium, on the way in. That's about the only place they put it. And they did it more to probably to increase the aesthetics more than anything else. But again, there's probably some details we need to run down, about exact. I would like to make sure that 3-inch gap that the contractors are telling me between the pickets is what we need. And again, this is just technical issues at this point.
Well, Joe, is it optional? You can set different spacing?
Yep.
So I mean,
they're going to fabricate this stuff for us based upon the specs we give them.
Oh, okay.
It's not like you're going out and buy a supply. That's why you got to leave. If there's like a 4 to 5 to 6 week lead time to actually fabricate the stuff. They give them the specs and away they go.
Yeah, well, see, that becomes a problem years down the road when you want to replace a damaged piece.
But both of these options are really the industry standards when it comes to what's being put in around pools today. I mean, both of these are very large regional companies that do big projects around municipal pools, apartment complex pools, other facilities, and ultra aluminum. All of these are to standard, to code for what's needed around a perimeter fence. From the work we've done, these, I'd be hard pressed to find another company that would recommend a different option other than these. Whether it's galvanized chain link, coated chain link, like what's recommended, or ultra aluminum, those are really the fencing options. They'd be the same sort of options around a park or another building that we would want to put in. All that's required is a 4-foot fence. We're recommending a 6-foot fence for safety, and just the added height. So, both Mills and Eads, where we got quotes from, are great companies, do this work all the time, would trust either of those. I really, I don't know what more information the pool commission could research, or Park and Rec. I defer to you all, but I think it's at that point where, I would like to see, the pool commission would like to see council take action one way or another on either moving forward with this project or not. This project is before you because of our earlier proposal for funds out of the Permanent Improvement Fund, of which council allocated $175,000. And so
125, Lauren.
125, sorry about that. And so this is, we believe would be a great improvement for the pool, and would really be a great enhancement all the way around.
Hey, Lauren,
Let me just quickly say this about the 3-inch spacing. I'm fairly certain in current Mariemont code, any porch railing, any banister railing, anything like that, the current code basically says 3-inch spacing. And the reason for that is because in the old days, it used to be, I think, 6 inches, is so that a child can't stick its head through there and hang himself. You know what I mean? Their head goes through, they can't get it out, they get hung in the fence.
Oh,
So 3-inch spacing is pretty standard.
Hey, Lauren, I have a question. I just don't have it right in front of me. Of that 125,000, how much is being spent on the other improvements we're doing?
I believe so far, council has approved for the roofing project, I think an amount not to exceed, it's roughly 23,000 you approved at your last council meeting. The painting project, I believe, was around $13,000. And then the painting of the bottoms of the pool and the little pool repair work was another amount, some of which had already been paid for, some of which will be paid for. So we're not near 50% of the allocated funds, so I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but those are the rough numbers of what's been approved by council. And so we as far as the projects this summer, the roofing, the exterior painting, and the fencing would be the real enhancements, capital improvements. The painting of the bottoms of the pool and a little bit of repair in the lap pool are routine maintenance that needs done every few years. So these are the big capital improvements we're recommending for this year.
Right. I was just trying to get to what, is there a buffer? So if something goes bad with the mechanics of the pool, because, if it looks great.
Yeah, Marcy, I think right now we're probably at about 90 of the 125,000 is kind of spoken for. So yeah, there's another 35,000 out there. And so, the buffer.
With or without the fence?
With the fence in, you get to about 90. So, because you got two components, you got 125 in the permanent improvement fund, but you also have about 16 in the general fund for these types of items. Right.
Not to argue here so much, but I mean, what about the painting of the lap pool? I mean, there was repair work to be done there, caulking work, painting work.
That's all. That's in that number. Again, I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me. Terry put one together, Donovan. I'm looking for it right now as we speak. So I just don't have it at my fingertips.
Okay, but so you're thinking that total number is somewhere around 50 for the roof, the paint, the patch, the pipe, the.
Oh no, I mean hold on, I've got that here. The shamrock work is you got 4,000 for the patch, and you've got 9,000 for the main pool painting because we paid for some of it last year.
Right.
And we got 13,000 for the lap pool painting. So that's 26,000 there.
And remind me too, Joe.
Okay, so we've got 23,000 in the roof work for the 3 buildings.
Right.
And then another 13,000 to paint the pool buildings.
Right.
Okay, so that gets us over 50.
It's at 62, I think, is where that puts us.
62.
Yeah, but I think what Joe was saying also is there's 125 in the permanent improvement fund plus another 16 in pool's budget that's in the general fund for maintenance. So that's 141, right? So we're at 62 versus 141. So if you put another 40 whatever, 46, what's the cost? Yeah, 46. Let's just go with the high end. So if it's 46, so you're 108 versus 141. So you got $33,000 left of space.
Wiggle room, yeah.
Joe, can you remind me, there was an issue with the leak in the pipes. Has that been fixed?
That's the $4,000 patch. That's already been completed.
Okay, and is that a temporary fix? I mean, it's
It's for a 3-foot patch in the pipe running out of the lap pool's overflow manhole. And no one knows if it's a good patch or a bad patch till we fill the pools up and see what happens. It's one of those areas that I've been harping on since day one. I mean, you know, we're talking about 50, 60-year-old pipes down there. It's always going to be a problem, and at some point, it's going to have to be addressed on a larger scale.
But from all the research done from Shamrock, who sent crews in to look at it, they believe that the problem is fixed. You know, and we went back and forth with Shamrock about what is needed. So the repair has happened, and when we fill the pool, we'll see if there are other things that over another winter that we need to address. So I agree to having that buffer of those funds there as a contingency if there are other mechanical issues to be made.
No, I mean, I know, Lauren, I mean, I was down there. I've seen the camera work. I was there, you know, when they were shooting the drains, so on and so forth. It's just, we're just patching extremely old pipes. That's the problem.
I think at some point, we're going to have to cross that bridge. I agree with
Right.
you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Do we have any idea of how much that could possibly be?
Nope.
Well,
I mean, is it an absolutely exorbitant amount?
well, you don't really know. I mean, the discussion that I've had with Shamrock basically would be to essentially put in a new filtration system that would pick up the lap pool and say the baby pool, and you would just abandon some of the old piping in the ground. You wouldn't even fool with it. And of course, modern filtration systems are way more efficient and much smaller than the existing one that we have at the underground one at the base of the big pool. But you could still be talking about, I mean, $40,000, $50,000. I mean, these things are cheap. Yeah. So, you know, it's out there. I mean, is it going to happen next year or the year after? It's one of those things very hard to predict.
But to your point, Bill, it should be on the 0 to 5 year horizon for us. We should probably, you know, again, we keep talking about trying to create longer term plans, and that thing should definitely be in that 0 to 5 year window.
You're exactly right, Rob, because my whole point about it has been essentially is that, you know, what do we just pay to patch? And this was just a little 3-foot patch this year. Well, what was that? $4,000, $4,500? That, to me, that's money down a rat hole. I mean, it buys you a year is what it buys you. You know, it's like putting money into an old transmission on a car.
Hey, to Bill's point, if we added at some point in the next 5 years, added a different pump room, is it pretty easy? Do we know if it's easy to move these fences, you know, and expand the space so that we can, if we have another pump room that's over in that, like where the garden area is? To
that point, Rob, when you look at the actual geography of the pool, Joe, if you want to throw up the slide that has the bird's eye view of the geography.
Yep.
You'll notice the only real distance because of natural geography where the hillsides are would be in front of the lap pool. Would be the one area where you could see where it indents in, where you could potentially expand the perimeter of the fencing.
Right.
The rest of it, there's no option to expand the perimeter of the fencing. So that's a really relatively small area of fencing. Yep. So in the future, if a pump room were to go near the front there, you could remove just, 20 or so feet of fencing and be able to expand that out. But just keep that in mind. The rest of the perimeter of the pool, we're really bumping up against natural geography where you can't expand
right.
the footprint.
Agree. I agree with you.
Well, hey, listen, and believe it or not, I mean, my talk with Rob from Shamrock is that modern filtration systems are, so efficient and so small. The thing might actually fit in the tail end of the big pool house, right off the baby pool there. Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't even have to build a new pump house or pump room. I mean, that's just a possible option. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about right there, as you can see it in the drawing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Out of here.
As the pool commission is concerned, we're concerned about the long-term viability of the pool, and we'll do everything we can as the commission to be thinking long-term about these projects. And as we did our facilities audit at the end of the last season, there are a number of things on the list with the pool. It was stated earlier, without reharping it, that, not a lot has been invested in the facilities of the pool. Routine maintenance, things that have needed replaced, upgraded, updated. And so we're mindful as a commission that there are a number of significant improvements this year. And we want to be mindful of things in the future. And to take it back to the fencing, either of these products, which again, my recommendation as, chair of the pool commission would be that you also scrap the hybrid model. So you're not mixing two different parts, and how do the ends connect? I know it could be done well, but to either, move forward with the black chain link all the way around, or to go with the ultra aluminum. I think aesthetically, one material all the way around, uniform. Our recommendation's the ultra aluminum. But again, if it's black chain link, I want you to hear the pool commission will be rejoicing in this facility upgrade. And so, to try to put the item on the agenda back kind of in front of folks and see where you all are in that recommendation.
Hey, Bill, how about, can we take it one step at a time? I think the first question is, do we think the fence should be replaced? I think we could have a discussion about that and vote on that, and then let's take the second step. How about let's do step, type of thing? Is that
Can I ask one thing about the configuration of the fence real quick to Lauren?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so like, basically, we put the configuration back, Joe. It shows the outline of the
That
fence.
one.
Yeah. So basically, by the baby pool, you could flip that section and increase that area with the green, or increase the area, the green space that's enclosed.
Yeah. So we had considered that. One thing, it will actually be a little bit additional cost, and here's why. The baby pool on the inside is completely fenced in. You can't see it from the aerial view, but
It's right here.
and so that little section, the little red section, would actually still need to be there.
Okay.
Because you would be you'd be bumping out the one perimeter, but you'd be adding about another 8-foot or 10-foot section, however long that is, which would not be a whole lot of money. But just to keep that in mind, we had considered proposing that to work in advance. And I think that's a smart consideration. If you're going to redo the fencing now, do you just, do the new perimeter that takes more of that grass area and includes it in the pool grounds?
Yeah, I'm just speaking from my experience as a parent of the swimmers and trying to watch them at the meet and how crowded it is, and
Yep. We would need, we would want to just obviously check with utilities to make sure nothing's in that in the area that they'd be digging in if the perimeter's expanded, but that's just a simple utility pole. It might add a few $100s to the overall price just for the additional fencing material.
Let me say this, I agree with Lauren that aesthetically, obviously the ultra aluminum is clearly the way to go. And I think Joe was trying to make this point a while back. If you try to do a combination type of a thing, it doesn't work in the configuration of this pool, because you don't have a natural break where you would start one type of fence and start another. Normally it would start and stop, say, at a house or a building or something. So you had a great barrier separation. If you try to start and stop a fence too close together, one type of fence to another type of fence, aesthetically, I think you're creating a bad image there.
Well, you're pointing out that you did something.
That I did something?
No.
Well,
And where they
Paying
made
attention to it is what she's saying.
right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like you tried for something and it didn't work,
Right.
kind of a thing. I just think that though, ultimately, if the ultra aluminum fence is sort of the way to go, but we're talking about a $47,000 fence, I think this raises the question. And Rob, help me out here one second. That $33,000 figure that you gave me a minute ago, are you, I was confused. Is that the remaining money after other?
Yeah, so again, but what I've done is we got 125, we said in a permanent improvement, and then within the general fund, the pool has its own budget also, and it has 16,000 for maintenance. So I added those two together to arrive at 141 of total, maintenance related spending. And we have 108 of it accounted for so far.
Okay,
Exactly.
so where's the 47 going to get paid for then?
Well, the 47 is
It's-
going to come out of the permanent improvement fund.
That 108 included the 47.
Right.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
So we've already approved $63,000 in spending, being 13,000 for the exterior painting, 23 for the roof and gutters. And again, the 23 may be less depending upon what the insurance is.
Mm.
And you've got the Shamrock items of 4,000, 9,000, and 14,000. That comes to $63,000. Add this on to it. If it's 45 or 47, that's 108 to 110.
I guess my thought on this is that a job like this, I sort of hate that this, being in the design business for as long as I was, I saw this all the time. You don't want to do, and pardon my language here, you don't want to do a half-ass job on this. We want to aesthetically go with what really will bring us the biggest wow factor for this pool. And that clearly is the ultra aluminum fence. I have no question about that. My only thought is we've already spent so much money on the pool this year. Is this really, do we need to go one more project of this size this year? I guess that's what I'm asking. Is this a bridge too far all in one year?
Well, it's not utilizing all the money that has been set aside for it for this year. So
True, but does that mean you have to spend it?
you don't have to spend it, because I would say stop. If we say yes on the fence, I would say stop here now, to the point that Marcy was bringing up, that we should leave some wiggle room in there in case
Right.
something happens. So, I think this would be sort of the ending point for this year,
And-
unless there's an emergency that crops up.
And to that point, the commission does not have plans to bring another recommendation before you as a council. These are the projects that, as the pool commission, we feel, with the amount that's been allocated, the generous amount that's been allocated, these are the projects we feel need to be done now, which are the big capital deferred maintenance projects. And so, underspending the amount that's allocated to leave room for a buffer. But Bill, I understand your caution, but I do believe that every year material prices go up for this. Every year the pool continues to lose members to other pools that have enhanced facilities and have continued to upgrade them. I think this would go a long way in aesthetically making those changes. So,
Hey, let me just say this, because Lauren, and don't misunderstand me. Look, man, I know the pool needs this, and I know it would be a fantastic, addition to the pool. I'm with you on that. The other day, I spent over 2 hours down at the pool with the insurance adjuster. This guy was on all the roofs, had ladders out, the whole thing. He did a really thorough job. The only question that kept popping up was, how old is that roof? How old is that roof? He was acknowledging that there was limb damage, storm damage, wind damage. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, maybe we get lucky here. Maybe we get lucky and we get a nice insurance check out of this, and that pushes the needle for me, at least. And we go ahead and we do it.
Bill, do we have any idea when he might get back with us?
Well, come on, he's an insurance adjuster. I told him, I said, look, I want to hear back from you as soon as possible. And it was, oh, yes, sir, we'll get right back to you.
Right.
But you know how those guys are.
Right.
Let me interject here, because I think there are a couple things I'm hearing. Bill, let's try to get that insurance adjuster to commit to what he's going to give us. And again, don't hesitate to give me a call, because as I said, I just did this with 5 roofs in our condo association, and I know the arguments he's going to bring up. First one, he's trying to play the game of, oh, it's age. We probably have replacement costs for our roofs in our policy. So the age is not even an argument. If dependent upon, it doesn't matter how old the roof is, If it's damaged by an event that's covered, they owe us a new roof.
So
The other concept is they try to also say, well, I'm only going to do one side of the roof or the other. There is, restrictions on how much they're allowed to do that. So, I mean, he's giving you the playbook at this point.
Yeah.
And so we should be able to get, hopefully next week, a real good idea about what they're going to cover and what they're not going to cover. So that may give us a little bit more, that reduces the spend on the roofs.
It really
The other
does.
thing I'm going to
You're right.
recommend, Lauren, you and I have talked. There is some other things that probably need to get looked at for this year. Some umbrellas and some seating. And I think we've got a couple starting blocks that need to be replaced. What if in the next week, we really go through and scrub that to see if there's anything else we need before we open? At the same time, we have the data point about what we're getting on insurance, and then we reconvene and make this final decision.
I mean, I can tell you that, umbrellas, chairs, as the pool commission chair, those things can wait compared to these bigger projects that I know that they're expensive. One thing I would bring to your attention, now that we're aware, we've done an audit of that fence. There's barbed wire hanging down that's no longer attached to the top. There are holes in which a child or an adult can go right through the fence right now. If this project is tabled for a year, the existing fence presents a lot of challenges and problems. We need to spend some money to repair or try to put the fence back together, or at least get the barbed wire out of the way. So, pushing a project like this down the road, long-term, I would just advise against. But we can look at some of those other little items. But as far as
Let's just make sure, because I don't think we can put off the swim blocks deal. We're going to need those if we're going to do a swim team this year. And then from what I understand, those are $1,000 to $1,500 a piece.
Yeah, we need
So,
two or three.
But again, I'm only asking, and I know we're right up to against the clock about, trying to make this decision. But I'm trying to make sure that we don't have something else that's going to come out that, oh, we should have been considering this in the numbers.
So,
Because,
what I would say to that is, a couple pool blocks or starting blocks, any kind of umbrellas, chairs, any of that, I don't think anything would be above $10,000 total. So,
Okay.
When you piece things together like that, I would hate to keep delaying this process. As far as someone who's been working on this for months, we are coming up against a time crunch. Talking to the lead installer for Mills, they said once they get the material, it's a 2-day job. They take it all out in one day. They have a massive crew. They put it in one day. But we're bumping right up against, opening of the pool. Now, this work can be done while the pool's open. We can close the pool down for a day. I don't think that needs to delay it. I know it's a big decision, but I would caution against, continuing to delay related to that. I would not, as a pool commission chair, I would not be bringing any more projects in front of the council for an allocation of funds that would exceed $10,000 this year. And they would be small items like, 3 starting blocks. We have 2 broken umbrellas. These are really small things that I don't think are worth council's time deliberating. That's why you have a pool commission, to be able to do that and to save you some of that time. You guys have bigger fish to fry than umbrellas for a pool. You guys have really important.
I will add this because, earlier in today's meeting, we talked about the model that I see for projects in Mariemont, which is find state grants, find private contributions to pay for these items. We just don't want to just put it on the backs of the taxpayers every time we want to do something like that. I realize on this project, it's hard to raise money for a fence. It's not one of the most glamorous things to raise money for. But, as we go into the future, I think we should really think about trying to adopt that model for anything we do in the future. think well in advance about what do we want to do and how do we get there, either through, grants from the state, grants from foundations, private contributions, all that, put all that together and pay for this stuff that way. So
the pool commission is very motivated to do fundraising for projects that are enhancements, not just capital improvements. I think you have a better chance of even fundraising for starting blocks, for umbrellas, for chairs, the things that people actually enjoy using while they're there. Not to mention any other water features or an expanded kiddie pool. I agree with you, Joe. That's where we want the pool commission to really get to work, is in raising goodwill among our community members and doing some private fundraising. These are just the items: roofing, painting, fencing, that honestly, it's decades worth of deferred maintenance that I know we're all catching up with in one season. But again, the work of the council already approved the funds. This is simply approving the project. So as a citizen, that's how I viewed it. You all have already approved funds. You're simply approving the project. And these are the projects that your pool commission has recommended.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Look, let's try to wrap this up here.
Well, I guess just one thing that John had pointed out to me is, the variable increase in pricing and fencing that would be coming up most likely would be a significant more amount.
I'm sorry, Kelly, I'm not following that.
So John Sherp had sent me a text and said, the fencing material prices are going to go up without question. So just to take that into consideration, that this is going to get more expensive rather than less.
And it sounds like if we don't go forward with the project, we're going to have to do patching anyway. So the cost will go up, and for the materials, and we're going to have to spend money that's going to be thrown away.
I will say this, Kelly, it's almost impossible to predict material prices.
Sure.
And,
I'm just saying what John mentioned.
And if somebody wants to, jump into the commodities market and put their money where their mouth is, Rob laughs. He knows exactly what I'm talking about, because right now the current price fluctuations that they're seeing somewhat is because of lack of capacity in the last 12 months, that factories were shut down. Some of it is material prices, but all that stuff goes. And my experience has been, the time you absolutely are sure that it's going to go up in the future, that they go down. Right. Because, so again, I hear what you're saying. I hear what John is saying, but I don't know. I would take that as an absolute that it's going up in the future, because I don't play the commodities market, and I'm not sure, there's a whole lot of people that do. So
besides that, we got a ship stuck in the Suez Canal. Who could have predicted?
Right.
So I'll throw out there that my wife and I went out there and we walked around some of the fence, and so number one, it does have to be repaired. That thing is falling apart. It's in bad shape. Totally agree with that. Number one, fence needs to be repaired. As I listen to this, I'll be honest with you, I started with the hybrid approach, but as I listen to this more and I find out, if this ultra aluminum is more the standard and it's more durable, which is important, I think, so because chain links do break more easily than these other kind of the ultra aluminum. I tend to lean towards that, and then also the aesthetics that Bill talked about. I think that really does play out a lot better for that kind of stuff. So personally, I've shifted over this conversation to think that, again, I've always felt the fence, after walking around the fence myself, it's like, yeah, that thing's got to be fixed. It's got to be replaced, not fixed, replaced. And so now, I would lean towards the ultra aluminum as well, based on the conversations we've had here. And then let me throw a third thing out. And then I would throw the challenge back to Lauren to say, gee, can you find the funding for the starting blocks you talked about earlier, the funding blocks and the other stuff? Can you find some of that raising money with using the pool commission to help? Because I think it's important that we continue to maintain a buffer in there in case something does happen to the pump house or whatever down there, because it is old. It's all getting old, and we need to, be cognizant of that and be thinking about that as well.
Yeah. Throw it back at me. I fundraise for a living, Rob. So I'm happy to fundraise. And,
pass the plate.
Yeah.
So I think, so that's where I would come down is, gee, let's go ahead and replace it. Let's do it this year. let's ask Lauren and the commission to try and find the money to go ahead and do the blocks and any chairs or umbrellas for this year. Stuff that is more tangible that people can, get a better appreciation for putting money behind as individuals. So that's where I would end up.
Okay, so do we not want to temporarily defer then until we hear from the insurance company?
Well, we can, but are you going to defer like a week or what are you going to defer?
Well, yeah, I mean, like I'll get on the phone with the guy, like first thing Monday morning and say, look, man, I need it.
Yeah, because I don't think we can wait until the next council meeting, which is April.
No. I'm talking about waiting until Monday.
So,
saying that, I'm sorry.
just for clarity, it's interesting to, we might get a few $1,000s back off of a roofing project, but if we don't, I see how that can be related in total overall budget, but I have a hard time seeing how that's directly connected to this project.
Let's step back for 1 second here and just say, where's everybody at about, do we do the whole fence in the same material or do we do the hybrid? Let's just take a vote on that to make sure, what does everybody think on that?
Whole fence.
Yeah. I'm convinced to go whole fence with one style. So
yeah, no hybrid fence.
I agree, especially since the cost savings isn't significant anymore.
Okay, so then the next decision is, do we go with the ultra aluminum or the color coded black vinyl chain link?
I would vote for the ultra aluminum, as I just stated earlier. So
I would as well.
Yeah, I would as well. I mean,
you don't vote.
Aesthetically, it's your best pick.
What if there's a tie?
Well, yeah, but that hasn't happened yet.
I'm just giving an opinion here. I'm not voting.
I would go for the black aluminum too. I mean, again, I think I articulated this at the last Health and Rec Committee meeting. It's a little bit of a coin flip, this whole project, and it's not something you just say, oh yeah, we got to go do it today. But as the more I've learned about it, more I've seen, I think it probably makes sense, and I think the ultra aluminum is going to really send a strong signal that we're standing behind this pool and we want it to be. We're going to make it really nice again.
And it's more durable. I like that too. I like the fact that it's lasts longer.
I like that it has spears.
And we don't have to look like hypocrites about banning everybody else from using chain link. Well,
the village uses chain link all over.
We're trying to move away from that, though. That's the point.
Okay, so what are you gonna do when the pool, the tennis courts need a new fence?
Yeah, you're not going to go that high with.
Well, the reality of the tennis courts too is that for tennis, with a 3-inch gap, what is standard in the ultra aluminum, a tennis ball could potentially go through that. The reason tennis courts have a chain link fence is because they stop tennis balls. It's a matter of function more than anything.
Sure.
Just like the back of a baseball diamond, same concept. It's germane to the actual activity and not a perimeter exterior alone type of a fencing issue. That's how I look at the tennis courts or a baseball diamond.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so now we made a decision on whole versus hybrid. We've made a decision on materials. Now it's just a question of, do we authorize a not to exceed number and move forward, or do we put some contingencies on that we need to solve?
I'm good with the not to exceed, but again, that means I want to maintain that $33,000 buffer. So, asking the pool commission to go find other funds for the other smaller components that we were just talking about.
So you say not to exceed, how we come up with that amount?
The 47,000 is the quote for the ultra aluminum.
47,000?
For the entire pool.
Well, 46, right? But we're going to give ourselves a little wiggle room.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you want to give yourself a little wiggle room.
I don't know if those quotes have included tax.
I don't think we pay tax, do we?
No, that's why I'm asking if they might actually be lower.
No, we don't pay tax.
I think they had it was a non-tax number.
Okay.
Find it.
Okay, okay.
We're
I thought so
taxable.
too.
But again, if again, we're going to approve $47,000, and if we got to get them to tighten up their numbers a little bit, we'll let them do it.
Yep.
Okay, let's have a motion and a second then for the not exceed.
I so moved.
Second,
Second, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye. Okay, just a technical question. As we move through this process to pick contractors and stuff, I'm assuming, Bill, you're going to be involved, John Scherpenberg's going to be involved about ultimate selection of the contractor and ultimate design, making sure all the spacing, and we touch base with the insurance company and we touch base with Ed to make sure we're conforming with all legal requirements. And Lauren, if you want to help in that process, Lauren's gone. Oh, there he is. So again, let's just make sure that it's that group that's going to do it, and I would add Jordan in also, just to make sure that she's aware of what's happening here.
Yeah, will do.
Joe, could you just, since we're getting that, can you also just check with Ohio Plan, or have Joni check with Ohio Plan?
Yeah. No,
That
I already
was
made
on
myself a note. Yeah.
right.
You mean
check,
from the liability issue?
check
Yeah.
with the insurance company, check with Ed, really refine those quotes so we know exactly what we're getting, and then try to find out the availability, so that the fact that we've got two contractors, hopefully one of them will say, I can get it done in the time frame we're looking at here.
Yeah.
And that's why we're going with the not to exceed and not trying to get too refined to actually pick the actual contractor at this point.
Yeah.
That'll be Bill and John and Lauren and
Well,
Jordan.
I think Lauren will help me with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll work with you there, Bill. And also just want to express on behalf of the pool commission and many residents who love the pool, just extreme gratitude to you as a council to do your due diligence, push us to get different numbers, different items, and just very grateful for the council prioritizing the pool and all of the projects that you've approved. So want you each to hear that, a deep, heartfelt thank you for prioritizing an amenity that I love, my family loves, and this work that the commission's doing. We're heartened and encouraged to have a supportive council of this amenity. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'll add in, Lauren, I think you found two very good, competent contractors here. Either of them will do a very good job here. And I've been very impressed with the knowledge of the two individuals I've been working with. But this is it's a big project.
Yeah, it's a big project, yeah.
And Lauren, your closing speech, that's why you're such a good fundraiser.
In your closing speech, that's why you're such a good brown noser.
No, it's true gratitude. It very much is. This pool's been a part of my family for 4 generations. And, it was Susie Vianello's father who surveyed that land in the 1950s with a sickle, cleared the land with a sickle, and went to the village council and said, we need to put a pool in. And he got it all started. So Becca's grandfather. So, it's a part of our family. The pool is an extension of our family. So when I say extreme gratitude, I mean that on a very personal level as well.
I just want to chime in there too. We have so many good memories of the time we spent there and swim meets and riding. My son still has a record. He's on the wall for the medley relay. Let's say he wasn't the driver for winning that race, but he was on the team. So, it makes me happy to be able to support it.
One thing that
share that joy with other families.
One thing that we forget too is Olympic gold medalist Nick Thoman grew up swimming there. And that pool's helped train Olympic gold medalists, which I think is a really cool thing. And maybe we can get the Thoman family. Nick's dad swims at the high school. Maybe we can get the Thoman family to be there for opening day this year. And Nick has been at a lot of local swim meets with his medals for little kids to see and to wear, and prioritizing this pool long term. Who knows what future Olympians are training right here in our own backyard.
You probably got some running around at your feet.
I was
right
gonna
now.
say, I hear some little lads right now.
That's right.
All right, very good.
All right, guys.
Anything else? I want to thank everybody. I know this was a little, a little bit painful trying to get through all this, but I think we made some real progress today.
Yeah, I think it was good.
Hey, Bill, I do
Yeah.
have a question I want to bring up with Murray. So typically to enter in a contract, we would have a resolution and do it by emergency. Do you feel the need to do that roll call for an emergency vote for Murray, or do you think what we've done tonight is enough, or?
Let's do it just in case, Bill. Let's just do
Yeah,
it.
right. I say do it just in case, you know.
So is
Okay.
Joni there? Can Joni tell us the right steps to do?
That's what I was thinking. I can
Just
read
let-
off kind of
you
what I
can-
have.
She's writing him notes right now, can't you tell? Now, step A,
Is motion to suspend the rules in
Yeah.
order to do emergency, and then a motion for the emergency.
Well, we need to have it read. I mean, you got it?
So I could say this part: to accept the bid of Pinnacle Paving and Sealing Incorporated for the Murray Avenue Multi-Use Trail Project, to authorize contract and to declare emergency.
Okay, we've had the first reading. I need a motion and a second to suspend the rules and allow for a second and third reading.
so moved.
Second,
Second, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye,
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
May we have the second reading, please?
To accept the bid of Pinnacle Paving and Sealing Incorporated for the Murray Avenue Multi-Use Trail Project, to authorize contract and to declare emergency.
All right, you've had the second reading. Any discussion? May we have
oh
the
my
third?
God, what happened to Lauren?
Yeah, well, he's out of this. May we have the third reading, please?
To accept the bid of Pinnacle Paving and Sealing Incorporated for the Murray Avenue Multi-Use Trail Project, to authorize contract and to declare emergency.
All right, I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
What?
Kidding.
What?
Oh, God. We might have to have 5 to do an emergency.
Oh,
Chris, I just made you an unofficial member of council.
We've got Piper here.
Wait, Lauren is a former council person. Let him have a vote.
Piper's here. She attends every meeting.
Give that baby a vote.
You're positive about that?
You can finish it and we can double check it, but I'm pretty
Just,
sure.
let's complete it and then let's find out. Let's complete.
Yeah, let's just do it. If we have to backtrack or something, then we'll do it that way. All right, I had a motion. Did I have a second?
I didn't get.
Yeah, it was me and Rob.
Okay, Robin and Kelly.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Okay, sorry, I was distracted. What are we voting for now? I apologize.
This is to pass the resolution.
And we're allowed to do that with just 4 of us?
Or
We're
we're
allowed to
gonna
do
do
that.
it, find out.
It's going to be on the emergency. It's going to be the thing. So it's your vote, Dr. Lewis.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Ms. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer,
Aye.
Joe. All right. I need a motion and a second to evoke the emergency clause.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bartlett,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. Stelzer.
Aye.
All right. That's it.
Yep, you'll just let us know then, huh? We'll
Yeah.
find out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
All
what
right.
do we, yeah.
Thank
okay,
you.
well, All right.
All right, guys, we're adjourned.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Have a good
everybody.
day.
See ya. Have a good weekend.
Okay.